Hey guys. Okay, so this week we're going to look at why potentially staging your building approval or modifying your building approval to allow you to start work on site whilst the town planning application is going through council may not necessarily be the best idea. Now, I used to be the biggest fan of this sort of stuff. Like, I'd sit there and go, oh yeah, from a town planning perspective, no issues whatsoever, go for your life. But I've seen a few things recently that have kind of made me change my tune, let's just say. So I thought, hey, why don't we use this week's video to kind of talk about some of those issues that I've seen so people can make some more informed decisions. Now, this scenario usually plays out in two kind of ways. In the first way, people have got both exempt stuff and assessable stuff. Stuff technical term. So basically they say, hey, look, can we start work on the exempt stuff while the application goes through council for the assessable stuff? Now, the second way that we see this play out, and this is super duper common at the moment because obviously construction costs are still increasing out there. If you're not in the industry, people are like, what do you mean they're still going up? Believe me, they are still going up. And anyway, as a result of that, everyone's realizing that they can't afford to build what they've had approved, so they're cutting back and scaling back on the application and then having to go through a modification application with council to get that revised design or scaled back design approved. So then people say, hey, can we actually start work on the stuff that's not changing whilst you go through and get the modification application to update the plans, and then, we'll update things, keep charging ahead, etc., etc. Now, like I said, used to be the fan, but there's probably four key things or issues that I've started to see pop up recently. Some of them have been around for a while and some of them are more recent observations, let's just say. Now, first and foremost, you need to consider, would you actually go ahead with the project as it's currently designed if council was to make some tweaks to the design, or if worst case scenario, they were to say no to your design. And when I say your design, I'm talking about that second component, that assessable component. Now, I obviously won't lodge an application for you if I don't genuinely believe it's going to be approved. Yes, we may have to talk about some negotiations where I'll say, look, I don't think that aspect will be approved, but this is where I think we'll land in terms of the negotiations. Are you cool with that? If you're cool with it, then we go ahead and lodge the application. But at the end of the day, I'm human. There is no guarantee that I'm going to be right. Council could turn around and surprise me and I could be going, wow, didn't see that one coming. Obviously, I hope it would never happen, but the reality is it could happen. So yeah, you have to stop and go, okay, hold on a sec. If this assessable component doesn't get approved by council, would that number one change the design that I go with? Or would number two, worst case scenario, force me to go, nah, not continuing with the project? So I use a carport as an example. If you're seeking approval for a double carport out the front, would you turn around and go, oh no, if we can't get a double, it just doesn't stack up from a feasibility perspective, a resale perspective, we're just not going ahead? Or would you sit there and go, oh, yeah, look, won't like it, but if you force me to, I'll go to a single with design. I can live with that. First option, okay, we're not going any further. You're not starting work on site until we've gone through the council process. Like, that's just way too risky. Whereas if you go, hey, look, single with carport, I can live with that. I go, okay, yeah, single with carport at the end of the day most of the time is exempt. I'm cool with that because I know your plan B actually works here. So yeah, you've got to consider, would you change the design or would you abort the design before you start work on site, because there is no guarantees there. So that's reason number one, or issue number one that I'm kind of seeing. Now, issue number 2 and 3 are kind of linked together. This is something that's only sort of popped up on my radar more recently. So we've seen a lot of building certifiers recently, and just to say up front, I do understand where this is coming from. So this is not me throwing shade at certifiers here, but I've seen a lot of certifiers recently turn around and go, yeah, we can't just simply cross off the second assessable component from the plans. We can't, like council does amendments in red, we can't get the red pen and just cross it off and say not part of this application. We actually need 2 separate sets of plans. So we need a set of plans for stage 1 and a set of plans for stage 2. And the reason being, this is why I understand they have to do it. They've obviously seen a lot of issues recently where people haven't kind of resolved the work between the 2 stages, and people have delayed that stage 2, or council's changed aspects to stage 2 which have then resulted in changes to stage 1, which has just created all kinds of mess. So yeah, they're turning around now saying we need a second set of proposal plans and we need a second set of specialist drawings, which could be engineering drawings, all that other stuff. So point number 2, or issue number 2 we're seeing, is basically there's a lot of extra cost involved. You've basically got to duplicate everyone's fees, not necessarily duplicate, but pay a substantial amount again to everyone along the process to say, yeah, can you go back and redo those plans, split those plans, etc., etc. Third thing, timeframes. So if you go back and get everyone to redo their plans or create a second set of plans, naturally it's going to take a long time. So engineers, for example, you might be waiting 4 weeks to get in with them. Then it takes them 1 to 2 weeks to do the work. That means it's 6 weeks in. By that stage, you're halfway through the process, if not more than halfway through the process with the town planning stuff. So yeah, you got to sit there and go, okay, hold on a sec, hitting pause, is that a better option because it's going to save us all this money and all this time, or do we charge ahead? Now, the only scenario that probably pops to mind where you'd want to still charge ahead in spite of the extra cost and extra time is if you sit there and say, hey, I've got a builder locked in. If we can get this going within 6 weeks, they're going to start on site. If we don't start in 6 weeks, it's going to be 2 years before we can get them back or something like that. Okay, bit of a different situation there. That's a situation where I might go, you know what? Yeah, you probably still should be charging ahead in spite of all the extra pain and all that sort of stuff. Most of the time when people realize, hold on a sec, we're only going to be saving, let's say 4 weeks and we're going to be spending all this extra money, yeah, we'll hit pause. We'll be patient. That's where we end up getting. Now, the fourth issue I'm kind of seeing here is something that hasn't been raised with me yet, but it's something I'm seeing potentially popping up on the horizon. So I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I'm currently starting a renovation process, which is teaching me a bucket load about how the industry works as a whole. Like I now realize I was so in my little town planning bubble and really had no idea what happened after town planning sort of was done and dusted. So it's given me an amazing learning experience and a much better appreciation of what clients go through and all of that sort of stuff. Anyway, going back a step, I need to get money from the bank to be able to fund this renovation. I ain't that cashed up to pay for it myself. Like, I'd love to be able to sit here and go, yeah, I can make it rain on my own. The reality is I need a loan from the bank. Now, the bank, we got 2 different banks involved, 2 different valuers, 2 very different experiences. The first valuer, he came out and he was like, yep, doing a house reno, cool, tick, I'm done, I'm out, don't need to know anymore. Whereas the second valuer, he went through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I had to sit here there with him for like an hour talking through what tap fixtures we were going to use, what door handles were going on the doors, all that sort of stuff. And I was like, I actually haven't thought it through properly yet. Like, I know we're using this kind of level of stuff, but I don't know anything beyond that. I was going to get to that sort of stuff. So yeah, he made me go through things in such fine detail. What he then said to me is, if you deviate from this, when we come to do the sign off at the various different stages, you're going to have problems. So you need to make sure what you go ahead and build on site actually matches what we're talking about here today. Now, the reality is I don't think that they would come back and look at it in that much detail, but they could. So the question is town planning going to change anything? That second component of work, that assessable component of work, is that going to change anything that the bank is expecting to see there? And is that going to cause you issues from a loan perspective? I don't know. Like I said, I haven't got that far in my own renovation. I'm still at the early stages. But because I had that experience with that second valuer, it's now something that's heightened, or it's on my radar. I'm kind of sitting here going, oh, could that be another issue for people? Could they have problems with the banks if things change during that assessment process? That's something people probably want to consider early on. Now, I'm sure there's a heap of other reasons or issues that could pop up as well. They're probably just the 4 main ones that I'm starting to see. And I wanted to bring to people's attention out there because, in particular, like I said, with the modifications, it's such a big thing at the moment. Everyone's just like, we need to get started on site before these construction prices continue to increase, before the builders move on, all of that sort of stuff. I get it. I get why people want to be on site. But there's a lot more to it than I personally anticipated originally when I started, or when I was previously giving out advice to people on this topic. So there you go. That covers off everything I want to talk about today. As I like to say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got 3. Number 1, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number 2, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number 3, what was my number 3? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.